right. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, good. Happy faces. Obviously, big challenge for us. This will be our third straight road game where we're playing a top 25 team, which I think someone said there's only one other team in the country that's faced three road top 25 teams. So, but third straight road game, third straight night road game against the top 25 team, which is always a challenge. Playing an excellent football team. In Texas A&M of a team in all phases. They got tremendous athletes on offense. Christian Kirk's one of the top playmakers in the country in all of college football. And offensively they got running backs, not just one, multiple running backs that come in and get the physical tough yards inside, can make you miss and be productive that way. And then they're both also home run hitters in the open field, hit big plays. They have other talented and good size out at wide out, and a quarterback that now is not quite as much of a freshman anymore, and with the exception, I think, of honestly about 17 minutes of this season, they probably be a top 10 team, if not a top 5 team right now, that we're getting ready to play. And that was during those 17 minutes, they had a true freshman in a game that, was much more of a true freshman than he is today, with a guy that's explosive and, obviously is a tremendous athlete, can beat you running the ball. But you can see, with the experience, is starting to grow into somebody that can throw it. Defensively, they're one of the most athletic team we've played so far on the defensive side of the ball, and lead the league in sacks and tackles for losses, with great athletes that can really run all over the field. And obviously with John Chavis as the D coordinator, played a very aggressive style. So be a huge challenge for us and our guys going on the road, playing another great quality opponent.
Obviously know David Turner very well. What's his group been doing well this season? I think one of the leaders in the nation's in sacks.
Yeah,
and
they got great athletes. They attack. They really they attack you well. They transition real good from run to pass, a fit in the run, and and getting into a pass rush mode, and and then just within their scheme and their style of what they do, they get you behind the chains, they get into pass rush mindset and mentality, and they come after you.
What is it about a designed quarterback run that's so effective on third and fourth down?
It's counting for 11 players. If you play just an I formation, team's going to hand it off. You not account for the quarterback, so it's 10 on 11. If you account for the quarterback in there, it's 11 on 11. So if you're going to keep a safety in the middle of the field to kind of protect giving up the home run play, the offense now has the numbers advantage.
Hey, Dan, what do you make of A&M's QB Mond?
Yeah, I think he's a really a true freshman that's really is developed to not be that anymore. You know what I mean? He's started a bunch of games. He's played a bunch. And, what you see is a guy that's a tremendous athlete with his feet. And early on, that's how he was used. But I think over now, being the starter for a bunch of weeks now, you're seeing a guy that's more comfortable within the offense of throwing the football and managing the whole offense instead of, probably relying more on being an athlete and just getting himself adjusted to the game.
In all three of your road games this year, you've fallen behind in the first quarter. Is there one thing in particular you can put your finger on why that's happening?
Well, probably missed assignments on defense. That's my one thing.
You faced off against Kevin Sumlin seemingly every year that you've been here. What's kind of the signatures of his teams?
Well, I think, one thing is always have great athletes out there on the field, and, big playmaking guys, So when you're playing them, you're in a game that you got to be ready to play for 4 quarters because they can score and they can always score in a hurry. And then they tend to have tremendous athletes on the defensive side of the ball. So, if it gets into kind of a track meet, they have some really athletic guys they put out there on the field on both sides.
Coach, what's unique about playing at Kyle Field?
I don't know. I mean, it's a great environment. What's unique, I think, they can make you seasick rocking back and forth between the third and fourth quarter. That's somewhat unique to them, I think, right? But it's a great environment. Obviously, a lot of history, a lot of great tradition in college football. They'll have 100,000 people there on Saturday night, and very hostile environment, and that you play in, and it's another just a great venue that the conference has that makes the SEC so special.
Hey, Dan, how do you determine how much you are going to use two-back sets more?
How do I determine two-back sets?
Like we saw last week, how will you determine whether or not you guys will use that more going forward?
It depends on, it's always scheme, and for us of making sure, what gives us advantage when we see things. If defense is going to give us something, we're going to utilize it. Also trying to utilize our players and get the right guys at the right spots to go make plays, and constantly trying to create mismatches out there on the field. With different personnel groupings. That's why you use multiple personnel groupings to try to create mismatches. With whether you're using multiple personnel groupings playing receivers at different receiver positions, or multiple tight ends playing 2 or 3 tight end sets if we have to, or 2 backs or 3 backs, whatever we have to put on the field, and I think having guys that can multi-position help an awful lot too, because it makes you a little bit harder to scheme, even though, we'll have different personnel groupings that put guys at different positions. They don't know which position they're exactly playing until they line up.
Coach, we've heard you talk before about this team learning how to win, how to deal with wins and things. And after the LSU game, a lot of guys talked about the practice that week wasn't what it needed to be.
Yeah.
Is there anything after two wins and another big SEC win? Do you change anything at practice? What do you do to make sure practice?
No, I think we're not going to change kind of our routine. What we have to do is just change our mentality and our mindset of how we attack the week. And practice with a little bit of an edge to us. And really work on improving. We got to. We talked this morning with the team. We got to be better in every aspect of the game, and sometimes those are big steps. Big steps are easy to see to improve on, but a lot of times smaller steps aren't as easy to see to improve on and take a great attention to detail. And so we got to make sure we're paying attention to both of those things. Our scout team's got to be better this week. And they got to execute. We got to be better up front with the scout O-line and D-line. We got to be better at the skill position, giving us the looks with the scout team. That way, our intensity and individuals got to be cleaner and fix things. Within the kicking game, we got to fix things. Obviously they got a dynamic return game. So, just the little attention to detail where, hey, being 2 feet off didn't cost us last week, but you see the video. This is why it could have cost us. And just that mindset and attention to detail is critical.
Coming into the year, there was a lot of options at the tight end group with a deep core and a lot of different ways to use them. How have you gone about identifying who can help you in what regards, and kind of narrowing down the options to make it effective?
Well, we play a bunch of different. We play all 3 tight ends a bunch. And knock on wood, we've stayed healthy. That's one of the few positions we've been healthy at. So this year, so I think for us, that helps to be able to move those guys around to different spots and put them in a position to be effective.
Kind of on that same subject, Jordan Thomas, you talked about mismatches, and he's been out there in cornerback, safeties, things like that, and just seems like a guy that can really make some plays. What's he done well this year to allow him to become a big part of the offense?
Well, I think for him, he's starting to learn the game, and he played last year in his first year. He probably should have redshirted. Just depth and injuries, we kind of put him on the field because you'd love for him long term to have another year under his belt here, because he is a guy that is a tough mismatch, because he's got size. He's pretty athletic, and he's really learning the game a little bit better from week to week, which makes him more effective, because he can play attached, he can play flexed out. But the more knowledgeable you are, the more you can do, and the more you can do, the harder you are to defend. So, it's a shame he had to play last year, but I think he's taking steps and learning the game more and more every week.
You said after the game you expect to get a lot of those injured guys back. Are they still on track for that?
Yeah, we're hoping this week to get a bunch of guys back. So, we'll see as the week goes on how that all pans out. But, you expect to have Keith Mixon back. You expect to have Corey back and Martinez back. But I don't know that many guys will practice today on the Monday, but hopefully later in the week we get all those guys get them all back.
Hey, Dan, how much credit should we give John Hevesy for your offensive line's success this year? And has his approach changed at all this year, or at least into the year?
I don't know. I've known him for about 16 years. I don't know that his approach changes all that much. Is it 16 years I've been coaching with him now, or 17, 18 that we've been coaching together? So, yeah, I don't. Nobody else coaches him, so he. You know, I guess he does. He does. You know, I mean, I guess people. I see for him, if they're doing poorly, they jump all over him. So if they're doing well, he deserves all the credit, and he should be getting all the rewards for that. So, I think just as a coach, I mean, he's always coached our guys hard. You know what? He coaches hard. He's very demanding, and it's obviously one of the toughest positions coaching wise, and because very rarely when you do well, does anybody really talk much about it, but they really talk about you when you don't do well. So it's somewhat thankless type of job. So, but he has our guys, you know, playing well, and hopefully getting Martinez back will help us even more.
You've mixed in some new guys at the safety positions throughout the course of the year. How have they developed over their first half of season?
Well, if you look with you know, who's new back there, John. And JT a little bit, but JT kind of played utility all over the place before. You know, but John's, you know, coming, this is a similar style defense that he ran when he was, you know, before he went to junior college. And so I think, you know, there's familiarity, and the opportunity for him to graduate early and get in here has really helped. And then, you know, you look at Mark and Brandon Bryant that are in developmental, you know, they're getting into be juniors this year, which are big years. For those guys, because you know they've played, so this is a big development year. So I think they've played. They have the experience of being on the field, even though there's a lot of new things defensively for them. They have the experience of been on the field, played in the games, and understand offenses and what they see. So it's really picking things up. You know, and hopefully, you know, it's a position you stay healthy at. You look even in the future that there's, you know, next year you could have a really, really solid deep group at that position.
You talked about Kellen Mond not being a freshman at this point in the season. Do you feel that same way about your true freshmen, Kylan Hill and Willie Gay?
No, it's not to that point, because, you know, I mean, he's started a bunch of games. You know, and I think that is different, you know, I mean, at this point. When you know, this will be his, sixth game as a starter. You know, I think this is like, so I mean, Fitz has, I mean, he's started a lot more games than a lot of other quarterbacks that are out there. So I think when you're a starter and you're taking every snap at the quarterback position, you know, you're starting to get those reps that make you different than our guys have been able to get. You know, I mean, Keaton did a nice job last year. I think he scored 2 touchdowns but he only played 9 plays the whole game. So, you know, it's not like he played 70 or 75 plays at the quarterback position week in and week out. So he's growing and learning, but I think you're forced to accelerate when you're the starter playing every snap.